Hey, John LaRoy, dude, how are you, man? What's happening?
What's up, Kurt? How are you?
Oh my God, if I was any better, you know what? You might have to call 911, man. It might get pretty nasty here. So, this is such an honor, such a privilege to have Joe Johnson here today from Obvious Shirts. Joe, how are you, dude?
Doing great. Busy day. Appreciate you guys being flexible with me. Another day in the life of an apparel brand is you never know what each day brings, and chaos is right around the corner.
Well, since we're
Especially
going
playoff
there, why don't
time.
you
Yeah.
share a little bit? What was the chaos, if you want, if you were comfortable sharing that? What fire did you put out today?
Well, a couple, and John's super familiar with this, so bless his heart for putting up with us. Um, we work with a lot of teams, a lot of organizations, professional organizations, and I don't know their inner workings, but it seems, in my experience, that they kind of decide last minute that they're gonna pull the trigger on getting some t-shirts made or whatever it is they want for whatever event. Like we have Detroit Tigers playing a playoff game tomorrow at Comerica, and we have the Red Stars on the verge of the playoffs. They might be in already. So today's lucky Tuesday for us because we had both of them kind of hit us at once saying, "Hey, we need shirts and we need them like ASAP." So what I do is I scramble to get artwork done and send mock-ups and get their approvals and wait to hear back what they want, which of the designs they go with. And then it's a matter of like this morning finding blanks, tracking them down, getting a driver to go pick them up from the manufacturer and take them to John. John's got a 3-hour window to print 144 shirts. And it just has to get done in time. So everybody's scrambling on both ends. We're here making some in the background. John's printing them, and it just falls into my lap on a daily basis. I never know what's coming next.
Yeah, it's fun. It's exhausting. Where you get that reputation of you always get it done. It's like unattainable like end. Like every time you always come through, it almost gives people a crutch sometimes. Like, hey, I could wait to the last minute, and I know Joe will get it done.
100%. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I don't even thank John enough for his efforts. And like, so teams come to me with what John just said is exactly true. They know that they probably have time because they know that we'll find a way to get it done. And the only way that I get it done is if John gets it done for me. Like it starts with Apparel Redefining. It starts with him. I'm just like I have the network to them and hopefully build good rapport with them so that they continue to use us as a business partner. But yeah, John, I don't thank you enough for always coming through because just like the teams know that, oh, Joe will get it done. I think I'm kind of now in the mindset of, you know what, I'm going to call John, he'll get it done. And he does. So thank
Yeah, I
you.
appreciate that. But yeah, no, but it's my team. It's Jeff, it's Brian, it's Nick, it's Jamie. They do a phenomenal job. But it's easy to complain about, but it's also nice to be in that conversation and feel like the go to guy for so many. Originally starting with one club and
Hmm.
now it's expanded not just in baseball. You're the go
Hmm.
to guy in multiple different sports, and that just doesn't happen overnight. That's consistency over time creates momentum, and that's what you got. You got to keep it going.
Absolutely.
Well, Joe, do us a favor, man. You have a phenomenal origin story. So if I have this correctly, you were selling software, if I'm not mistaken, and so a little
Hmm.
bit, you're just a little bit of a Cubs fan, as I understand. And so there was a pitcher who I guess was pretty good. You decided to put together a T-shirt, and just can you tell like how did Obvious Shirts come to life?
Yeah. So being in sales, the company that I worked for, we had a quota and our compensation was based on reaching our quota. It didn't matter when you got to your sales number, you would get paid out bi-monthly every 2 weeks. You would get paid out on your quota if you finished it on December 31st of the year, or if you finished it like I tried to do June 30th. So in sales, I've my dad was a salesman. I think I just kind of got the sales gene. As you'll learn, I can ramble and talk to anybody. I can talk to drywall. I can talk to a tree. I can make friends with anything. So sales was kind of like where I excelled. And so my goal every year, and I was a season ticket holder, my goal was to get my quota met as quick as possible, because then I didn't have my manager or my VP breathing down my throat or giving me any pressure on, where your numbers at. I would reach my quota by the end of June was my goal. And I would use all of July, August, and September to go to Cubs games with my free will. And some years I made it, some years I didn't. Night games, I was at all the night games regardless. But when I would go to games, I noticed that my guy Jake he was still on the rise. And when we got him from Baltimore, he wasn't a household name. So they didn't have a Jake Arrieta jersey. They didn't have any Jake Arrieta T-shirts. And he was kind of like my guy, which is a whole other story. It goes back to when I played travel ball and got to have his locker at TCU, and that's where he went, TCU. So I kind of followed his career. And when the Cubs got him, I'm like, this is my guy. I'm going to make this. This is going to be my dude. And so in 2015, fast forward a few years to 2015, we got him in 2013. Fast forward to 2015, he literally came down from an alien spacecraft because he was unlike anything else in baseball. His stats might never be duplicated. And he was just pitching out of this world. So I thought it'd be funny, because I'm dry and my sense of humor is dry and I'm sarcastic. I thought it'd be funny to understate how good he was. And so I had my buddy who worked right next to me in the cubicle downtown Chicago, who sold concert venue, like Live Nation. He did concert T-shirts in college as a side hustle. He had all his connections to printers in Florida. And he's like, I can make you a shirt. And I said, I just wanted to say Jake Arrieta is good at baseball, because he's not good. He is next level, out of this world, unduplicatable, if that's even a word. So I thought by understating it would be really funny. And I wore it to his next start, got the shirt in about 2 weeks, wore it to his next start. He went the full 9 innings, struck out 11, gave up only 3 hits. And in the 3rd inning, I went to go get a beer and I got stopped everywhere. It took me like 25 minutes to get there and back. And I took people's contact info, business cards, whatever. And I just told them I printed it for myself and I wanted a super comfortable shirt. So originally we tried like 8 different blanks and I didn't love it. So then I went like real deep, did a deep dive and tried like over 40 different Royal blanks. And I finally found the one I liked, had him print 100 of those for me, put it on Facebook just to friends and family, said, I have these, they're for sale, $20 a pop. And I sold all of them in like 6 or 7 minutes. And so then I put in an order for 400, sold those in like a day and a half. And then all the rest of 2015 through the wild card, we fell short in the playoffs. But then I just kept coming up with more ideas while, watching games and thinking about what are the obvious things that need to be said that are going to get reactions out of people. And fast forward to today.
Well, I absolutely love that. Kyle Schwarber, crushes baseballs. And then here's a true story,
That
Jim.
was number 2.
Both you guys gonna love this. I was out to dinner with my wife. We had some friends. We're at Niagara Falls on the Canada side. I'm sitting at dinner at a steakhouse. I stand up, I turn around. A guy has a T-shirt that says the greatest game ever played was on a Wednesday in Cleveland. I go, dude, where'd you get that shirt? I go, did you get it from Obvious Shirts? He said, of course I did. And so this was just about a month ago. John, I don't even know if I told you that one, did I?
Yeah, no. But yeah, you see him everywhere.
Yeah, I didn't want to creep the guy. I was going to take a picture, but Joe, I couldn't wait to meet you to tell you that. So this was literally just a month ago in another country.
Cool.
Your fans are wearing your shirts proud. I'm going to pull up your website. Do me a favor again. I know we're a little tight on time. I would love to hear your aggressive sales guy go from that transition from like, man, you're crushing it in software sales to entrepreneurship. Like, just walk us through like that transition if you could.
That was a very, very hectic year. It was 2016 to 2017. So the Kyle Schwarber shirt, a lot of this is luck. So I'm not going to say any words of wisdom that, people are going to be able to like take and go out and do it. Like a lot of it's luck. I think I found the right type of brand, the right type of message at the right time. Obviously, nobody could have predicted the Cubs to win in 2016. So I had a lot of things going good for me. The Kyle Schwarber was my second shirt, and that shirt. So I was on Etsy. First, I was just on Facebook, and then I was on Etsy, and I had 2 shirts: Jake Arrieta and Kyle Schwarber. the greatest game shirt that you mentioned, that's our all-time number one. That's a fun story behind that, and I can go a little bit past 4. So if we have time for a great, if not, no big deal. But to answer your question, um, when I came out with Kyle, some fan in New York City bought it and wore it to City Field at the beginning. It was like the first month of 2016, and a guy wore it. Kyle Schwarber hit one of his, I think it's like his second or third furthest home run in his career. It was 481, 483 feet. And the cameraman, there was nobody in the upper deck at City Field. And there was one guy in my red Kyle Schwarber shirt, and I made it red because I already had a blue shirt, and I was raised in a huge IU Indiana Hoosier family. So Kyle went to IU. So I'm like, I'm gonna make it red for IU and for Kyle. So this red shirt sticks out like a sore thumb on all blue seats in the upper deck that's sparse and doesn't have many people in it. And the cameraman finds the shirt, goes right on him. I mean, he's center chest, takes up the screen, and Len Casper and JD go like, that's going to be a very popular shirt. And I guess I don't want to call it the genius behind it, but why it works really good is that when you see my shirts, which is just like mainly words, the shirt sells itself because many people saw that and they go to Google and they type in Kyle Schwarber's good at baseball shirt. And guess what? Boom. Not even a paid ad, and mine's number one because of keyword search. So that night, when I saw that happen, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna like figure out how to make this product like continue selling. Like I had stock of like 12, something really minimal. And I was like, I found the box, check this box if you wanted to sell, regardless of stock levels. And I clicked that, went to bed, woke up, and 440 shirts later, I sold 440 of those overnight because Reddit picked it up, MLB.com. The little video clip was kind of going viral online. And so after that, and I'm doing a really good job of really talking your ear off with this long-winded answer. But after that shirt blew up, then I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna like actually think this out and think what I need to do. And so I was going to 9 to 5, coming home and stuffing shirts and envelopes from 6 to midnight. And that was my life for a year and a half. Obviously some days more than others, but only had 2 shirts. I told myself when I'm spending more time doing the shirt stuff, and I never thought it would ever get to that point, but when I was spending more time doing shirt things than I was in my day to day, then I was like, I might just take a leap of faith and go all in on the shirt idea.
I absolutely love it. I'm gonna pull this up. And when it's fascinating where the job almost became an interference, right? Like it became a distraction. So, and it sounds gradual, like, hey, this is a fun little thing. It's a hobby. I can brag to my buddies. My Kyle shirts sound like crazy. But do you remember that point where you're like, you know what? Like, I think I'm onto something. Like, I think I could leave my job, take that leap of faith, and go into entrepreneurship. Like, was there a single moment, aha moment,
Yes,
gradual?
yeah. There was a single moment. It was the day after the Kyle shirt exploded. I got a letter from the Major League Baseball Players Association, and they said, like, we saw this shirt, just to let you know, like, they gave me the whole spiel about you have 2 players. If you do anything else, like, we are going to come after you because you can't do that. Like, technically, you can't use the name, image, likeness of the player. And so they told me to take it down. Like they said, like, we would recommend you just taking it down. And I said, how can I'd rather just get a license. And they're like, it doesn't work like that. You have to have a few years of business history. You have to have a business plan. You have to send us marketing materials. And I said, well, I don't have any of that, but I do have about 20 designs that I've kind of just worked on that I never went with because I was either waiting for the right time or the right player to have, a breakout. So I sent them like a PowerPoint of just 20 shirt designs that day. And the very next day, they're like, hey, we sent these around internally. We really like this concept. This is very unique. We haven't seen anything like this. And they gave me a 3-year contract, literally 3 days later on the spot. And so when I got that, then I was like, okay, I need to like seriously consider like putting all my time and energy into it. And if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it.
It's incredible.
Dude, that is such an amazing story. John, your thoughts on this?
Well, one thing I just wrote down, and he said he got lucky. I mean, there's an element to that, but that I would say if you're putting percentages on it, it's less than 10%. Because when I met Joe a couple years after he got started, the meticulous attention to detail was on display like within seconds. Because I mean, I'm going into his house.
I told you, John. I told you I am not going to be like Sorry, I'm gonna let you finish, but I have a great John LaRoy story after he's done.
And you know, I was just blown away. The meticulous attention to detail back to that, like going to his house, going to his basement, and his entire basement is converted into essentially a stock room. And every SKU, every style, meticulously folded, and honestly beautiful. Like it for someone that is ADHD and seeing that type of
Mm-hmm.
organization, it was incredible. And just watching him grow and help us honestly, like we decorate a lot for a lot of companies all over the country, and especially in the collegiate athletic ranks. And the attention to detail is more about, hey, get it there on time because it's for a game or for an event or time like this. But this is one of our first real forays into building a brand for someone that is actually directly involved in the brand. It's not 7 steps removed where it's someone's concept and then there's a PR firm and everyone's kind of like loosely affiliated with it. Like this is his brand, this is his life, and literally inspects every shirt before it goes out. Because one
Mm-hmm.
of the things too that Joe hasn't really talked about is like what one of the things, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that makes you so happy is that you run into fans and customers and clients that have been wearing your shirt since 2016, 2017, and they say it
Yeah.
still fits great, the print's great, and those type of unwarranted, unsolicited testimonials, more than just the design, it's the quality of the shirt, um, really helps sell the brand without any type of marketing. So just seeing like how, and not just Joe, now his fiance is what, and everyone else in his on his team embodies that meticulous attention to detail in everything they do, customer communication, social media posting. It's a business class in itself on how to build a brand, and they've done a phenomenal job. So a
Here, I
little bit,
found
yeah, yeah. That was
you
his
can't
basement.
really. There's a glare. That's my basement.
Yeah,
But yeah,
It's
yeah.
absolutely awesome.
Yeah, John nailed it. I think like for the listeners out there, attention to detail is the one. It's like the one thing that I like. I don't think I have anything unique other than being a passionate fan, but the attention to detail is what I've learned and experienced in this and seen, not even in t-shirts, but like in entrepreneurship and being your own boss. Like I'm not good at business. I knew that very early on. I'm a good sales guy. I'm a good marketing guy. I'm not good at business, but the one skill set that I do have that I think you need to have in this is the attention to detail and the consistency. That is a skill I've found it very rare in people, and the people that have it, I can see why they're at where they're at. And the funny story is, John was introduced through a guy I went to high school with and played high school basketball with, Dan Boris. Shout out Dan Boris. And John, like, he courted me. He almost like he dated me. He would ask me if business is a relationship. He was asking me out all the time, and I was like playing hard to get because I kind of had a good thing with my current printer. And when I finally was like, John, I'll take a call. But like the first thing I told John is like, you're not gonna like me. Like you're not like you think this is a good thing. Like you're not gonna like me when it's all said and done because I'm so specific and my attention to detail is gonna drive you nuts and things need to be consistent and I look over everything. My fiance, who was just with me at the time, like you want to talk about attention to detail, she might have it at a higher degree than I did at the time. But I told him like you don't know what you're getting yourself into, and I know I know I'm not the easiest partner that John has, but it's fun, and I think John would say that my standard of like excellence, which is not perfection, but it's like things need to get done and they need to get done right, and the same mistake cannot happen twice. Like I think John would attest to that. That's brought his that's kind of like he was already at a very high level,
Scaled
but
up.
if anything, it did take him up a notch. And
100%.
that's why this relationship is mutually beneficial, because he did a lot for me, even when it means like, stop worrying so much, slow down, we got this, like, put your trust in us, like, you can let go of your baby and it's in good hands. Like, so it's been mutually beneficial both ways.
I appreciate that, but you're totally right. And we've said that internally a bunch where you have the Joe Johnson level of quality inspection, right? Like that's the cream of the crop, and that is what is expected on every order. And when everyone's watching, not when, hey, we'll let this one go through. Like, hey, would Joe Johnson take that? No, then it's not going out type thing. But yeah, it's been an awesome relationship, and just thrilled and really appreciated to be a part of it and seeing you guys continue to grow. But like the attention to detail too, like in the design, because some of the stuff is so meticulously small and minute in a simple part of the game or a simple conversation. That's what makes it so unique and funny and really like polarizing. Like you see all the vitriol from the St. Louis fans and the Milwaukee fans, and
Oh
it's
yeah,
funny.
it gets the
It's like
people going.
it does, man. It's awesome.
So, so speaking of, let's go there. So can you guys see my screen okay?
Yeah.
All right, so here's first off, here's a shirt that we were talking about. This is a famous shirt, and again, I'm sitting in Niagara Falls, and I recognize this shirt immediately. So, Joe, just and again, I know we want to be respectful of time. One thing that I love, I was just bragging about you earlier, and John, you and I just talked about this last week on our live stream last week. We were talking about like best business advice. Joe, I appreciate your humility. You're very modest, humble. But what I love about your business model is we always talk about how do you niche down, even like niche down till it hurts. And I was just bragging about you to another client earlier today. You guys have just laser focused, not just Chicago sports, what you're showing on your website, but like North Side, right? Like your Cubs, Bears, like you're just laser focused. Share a little bit on like why have you been so hyper focused on this niche and what's that done for your business?
Yeah, great question. I think the reason I wanted to differentiate myself, the apparel game, the online e-commerce industry is extremely competitive because the barriers to entry are the bar is so low, they're easy. Anybody could go to printful.com or go to Shopify and connect a drop shipping app and put up their own design and let somebody else, like, you could have your own t-shirt business in a matter of an hour or two. The barriers to entry are so low. So if you're going to compete in this space, which there's tens of thousands of apparel brands strict like online, like, how do you differentiate? So when I was starting this whole thing, I said, I need to differentiate, I need to stand out, I need to be unique. But you mentioned earlier, like, when did you know, or what did you do, like, when you realized you were onto something? I thought this whole concept, and a lot of it came from my marketing background and sales background, but I was like, I wonder if I can make a whole brand out of like words on shirts that would be the advertising for me, meaning I would not have to pay any agency, I would not have to run ads, I would not have to do Facebook pixel. What if the shirts, because they get reactions out of people when you walk down the street and you see somebody wearing it? That's why a lot of our shirts are, if you know, like, it's designed and tailored for the fan that has been a fan for a long time and knows the minor details as well as the macro details of a ball club. That, if done correctly, I thought it would get people talking, and then they'd say, where did you get that? Obviousshirts.com. And then I'd have more people out there wearing them, and just over time, and by still moving sales and always kind of like pushing the snowball down the hill, it would eventually be this engine of marketing, moving billboards by people wearing them. And that's why, like, the first year, I probably gave away 300 to 400 shirts, just because I knew if they were out in the wild, it would get chatter going. And after like a year and a half, it did start taking off, and it did work. And that's when my company started hockey sticking. Obviously, again, luck is a part of it because the Cubs won the World Series in 2016. But when the Cubs won the World Series, I had Jake Arrieta's good at baseball, Kyle Schwarber crushes baseball, Steve Bartman suffered for our sins, and St. Louis is boring. I had 4 shirts when the Cubs were World Series champs. So that that motivated me enough to be like, there's so much more I could do. And then I went, ballistic in off season 2016 to 2017.
Right. Well, you guys are probably too young for an old guy. This is probably one of my all-time favorite shirts right here, Mr. Sweetness, right? John, do you know one of his famous quotes? One of my favorite quotes of all time.
Never die easy.
Never die easy. Thank you very much, Joe. You won the.
Sorry, I know that was to John. I'm sorry.
No worries. That's one of my favorite lines. So, all right. Anything that you want to point out? And I'm a raving baseball fan, but I'm not a Chicago guy. I love the snarkiness. I get most of your jokes. I think this is absolutely brilliant. Where do you come up with all the innovation, the creativity? Where's that come from? I hope both teams lose. That's
like
great.
a lot of it's just watching games. Like I don't know. Like what's crazy is that like it really comes. I mean, most of back in the day when I was doing this solo, I would work from like 11 p.m. to 2 o'clock a.m. And I found that time for whatever reason was like my most creative, and that's where I would just literally put notes in my phone app like this would be funny, or I'm going to try this out. And I had a really good group chat of like friends from high school that know me and that they know this is how I am in like real life, that I could use them as a soundboard and send them shirts that I liked, and they would kind of give me feedback. But most of the ideas come like either maybe during a Cubs game. I would say just as many that came during the Cubs, and some of the shirts write themselves. Some of it's like an announcer or a quote or a baseball player says something like those like write themselves. But a lot of the times it'll just come to me and I'll write it down, or it'll pop into my head. And like I can't even tell you how many times I've literally like woke up, got out of bed, grabbed my laptop, and went into another room and just made the shirt so that I wouldn't forget it in the morning. So and I can't take all the credit. I do a lot of the designs, but a lot of designs are fan suggestions. A lot of them are in-house. The coworkers of mine that have had some really, really good ideas. So like that one, the Professor Emeritus, that was Melissa over here. She just texted me out of the blue, like after Kyle's last game. And that's like genius because, a professor, I think it's emeritus, emeritus, whatever. It means like you're solidified, you are grandfathered in, you are, your job is secure, but we use it as like Kyle's legacy is secure. So yeah, a lot of the others, the whole idea of the company came to me when I remember vividly, I was watching Pearl Harbor at like midnight, and I'm like, I turned off the movie and like wrote this like concept down. And last thing I'll say is the greatest game shirt. I just think it's a fun story. I was converting my DVDs on my Mac with a program that like made it digital, and I wasn't distributing. It was just for my own. I put it in my hard drive so that I could take movies with me on a portable hard drive because I was flying a lot on airplanes. And one of the DVDs I converted, it was actually, I was home the day before and I went to my mom's house and grabbed all my DVDs from like childhood. I'm like, I'm going to convert these and like put them on a hard drive. And I watched The Greatest Game Ever Played, the golf movie with Shia LaBeouf. And back then, when you converted a DVD, it had to convert in real time, meaning the movie had to play. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to watch this movie because I haven't seen it in a while. And the last line of the movie says like, and on that Sunday in Brookline, Massachusetts, the greatest match or the greatest game was ever played. And I was like, well, shit. The greatest baseball game ever played was on a Wednesday in Cleveland, and it wasn't a Saturday in Brookline, but it was a Wednesday in Cleveland. And then that, again, I made that shirt. I put it on the website at like 11:55 p.m. that night, and the rest is history.
History. So, all right, this is phenomenal. I'm keeping you over. I want to wind down. I know you're super busy, just shipping shirts all over the place. John, anything that you want to chime in before we close out?
No, just blown away by the creativity because again, like writer's block, whatever you want to call it, but just keep putting out awesome stuff. And you say like, what is it? The highest form of flattery is imitation, right? And like Joe says too, this is not a hard industry to get into. And even on my side too, it's a garage based industry, and you walk around Wrigley. I haven't been up there in a while, but everyone's selling shirts, and you could tell the
Yeah.
knockoffs, right? If you've been in this industry, we know what we're looking for. We know, but there's a lot out there that are trying to imitate the greatness and the creativity. But it is really cool traveling all over the country and seeing. I mean, the Cubs for years, the WGN effect. Everyone's a Cubs fan. Don't want to throw out there the lovable losers type stuff, but the Cubs have a sweet spot in a lot of teams and a lot of cities' heart. And then just this apparel that's easy to wear, it fits well, it's clever, it's different than just your team's logo on a shirt. It's really cool, and selfishly for my guys and my girls here in the shop, when we say like, hey, you're creating memories, not just T-shirts. Well, now there's actually legs behind it, right? Because you walk around anywhere and you're like, hey, I made that shirt. I made that shirt. I made that shirt. And it's not just a Cubs logo on a shirt. It's an actual time-stamped event that happened that you can remember what was going on when that event happened or when that thing was said. And it brings you back in time. And that's the power of Joe's shirts as well.
And I will just say one thing. The fact that, and this is a feather in John and AR's hat, is that my shirts are probably the easiest shirt to copy. I cannot imagine an easier shirt than what we have to rip off. So when you asked earlier about like why quality and why customer service and why like the best materials, the best ink systems, the best wear and tear, like the reason why that's so critical and so important to me is because when you buy a knockoff and you buy the real thing, like instantaneous, like what the differences are. It might look the same. I mean, it doesn't, because we do small little minute details in the artwork, but like you'll know right away what a knockoff is because they don't pay attention to the quality in the ink system and how it lays. I mean, the first 2 months, 3 months, John, I was like, no, it's not there yet. Like you gotta press it, you gotta roll it, you gotta heat roll it. And John was awesome. He was buying equipment, he was trying different ink systems, he was trying different heads. He was a great partner. So thank you. And the fact that they're super easy to rip off makes it even more vital that quality and materials are top notch.
I appreciate that.
Well,
thanks for pushing us.
Yeah, Joe, thank you, man. So, all right, we'll wind down. Joe, we wish you,
your team, continued massive, massive success, regardless of how the Cubs do on the field. We know that you're absolutely crushing it consistently. And just, again, huge admiration. Shout out to you. One more thought, John. I don't know if I shared this with you. I was on a call with a client. They were in Manhattan, and they had a bunch of Cubs paraphernalia behind them. And, of course, they knew obvious shirts. And so, Joe, you've made a great impact on the Cubs community. You're a tremendous inspiration, and we just thank you. We applaud you, commend you. Keep firing on all cylinders. And so, guys, John, we're going to wrap up, man. I don't know how we're going to top this one, but this was a good one. So
great, yeah.
All right, we're going to wind down. Joe,
thanks for having me.
Thank you, brother. We appreciate you. Hang out with us 1 second. We're going to close out, and we'll catch everybody next